Hello, friends. Welcome back to my channel. This is your report for the new moon in Gemini coming in on June 14th, 2026. So I want to actually start this video by talking about a transit that's been happening this past week and something that I think has been missed when discussing this transit, something really important. So let me pull up the chart of the new moon and you'll see what I am talking about. Okay, so here's our new moon chart. Now, the transit I want to address before diving into the new moon is the Jupiter-Venus conjunction that happened this past week. This happened on Tuesday, June 9th, and there's been a lot of hype about this transit that I've seen online, and I want to address some of that. So, what I've been seeing surrounding this transit is that this is like a super abundant day, a super lucky day, and that you need to be working with this energy to call in abundance and luck. Now, this is why it's really important that we understand astrology in its complexity because, yes, when isolated, Jupiter and Venus in conjunction is a beautiful transit. These are the two great benefics of the sky. And when they come together, it could bring a lot of potential optimism and juiciness into the field. However, we need to notice what the planets are doing with each other because they're all in conversation. And when these two met up on Tuesday, June 9th, they were making a square to Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer. And so if this transit didn't feel especially juicy for you, if you didn't feel like you unlocked your most abundant timeline with this transit, if it actually felt a little bit challenging for you and there was some, excuse me, deeper emotional layers that surfaced around this transit, you're right on track. Okay. So I want to mention that here because we're actually still continuing through this conversation with this Chiron square in this new moon chart. I'm actually recording this a few days early and Venus is coming through her square to Chiron now. Jupiter is about to come back into a tight square with Chiron. And if you've been following my reports, you'll remember that Jupiter and Chiron have been doing a dance for a while. They've been going in and out of this square for like more than 6 months now. So in the winter and the fall, they were dancing in this square. They're coming back into this dance. And the dance of this square between Jupiter and Chiron is really a dance that's revealing to us some deeper layers of ancestral healing that are being asked for us to look at. Why do I say that? Because Jupiter in Cancer is pointing us towards our mother line, our lineage, our ancestry. And Chiron reveals a wound. Chiron in Aries reveals a wound around the individual. So this can point to some place in your individual journey where you are noticing an ancestral pattern or wound that is being revealed to you, that is being asked through the tension of this square, right? A square creates friction, it creates tension. And friction allows us to evolve, allows us to change. And so that friction is going to be stirred up. This will be the third and final time that these two come into a square. And in this new moon chart, we're seeing that square getting tighter. So Jupiter's at 26 in the chart, Chiron's at 29. They're coming back into a closer square. So those patterns that were coming up around fall and winter of last year that were showing you some deeper levels of ancestral healing, some deeper work that's needed for you as an individual to look at around your lineage, that's going to be coming back up to the surface. Okay, so I want to point your awareness towards that before we fully go into the new moon. So now let's transition into what's happening in this new moon chart. The new moon is in Gemini at 24 degrees. And first of all, when we have a new moon in Gemini, this is an expansive new beginning around our mindset, the way that we're thinking about things. Gemini invites us to take a broader perspective. Gemini invites us to see things from a different angle than the way that we've seen them before. And I've been talking about this Chiron journey, and this new moon is in conversation with Chiron. So the new moon is making a sextile to Chiron. meaning that this Chiron square with Jupiter is sort of like this new moon is a stepping stone in that process. So this new moon might bring some clarity, some awareness, some perspective. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. It's the mind. It's our perspective. So there's something here for us to see. There's a new perspective that we might be able to harness through this sextile. A sextile is a supportive aspect, but we need to work with it. We need to engage with it. So there's some way that you're being invited to change your perspective on this Chiron journey that we've been on with healing this lineage in a personal way, because Chiron's in Aries. So this is the individual. So that's an aspect of the chart. Because this new moon is ruled by Mercury, Mercury is doing a lot. So let's talk about Mercury. Mercury in this chart just entered pre-shadow. So yes, we are going into a Mercury retrograde. Now, I want to do a little aside about Mercury retrogrades here. Mercury retrogrades are not something to fear. They are not something to feel like they're not here to limit us, right? They're not here to just like control our technology and make us not able to do things. Mercury retrogrades are an initiation. They are inviting us to pause, to reflect, to reassess, to reorganize something, to reorient in some way. Notice how all the words I'm using are RE words. These are retrograde words. And every single time that Mercury goes retrograde, we each have a specific initiation that Mercury is inviting us into. The pre-shadow is a very important part of this process, and it's often overlooked. So in this particular retrograde, Mercury enters pre-shadow 2 days before the new moon on June 12th. This is important because the new moon comes 2 days later and is ruled by Mercury. So this new moon is going to be a moment in our Mercury retrograde journey. And this new moon is asking us to be open, right? Gemini is about opening the mind to a different perspective. In this new moon, we're opening our mind to what Mercury is inviting us into right now, to what Mercury is going to teach us in this retrograde journey. You're going to want to look at the part of your chart between 16 and 22 degrees of Cancer. This is where Mercury will be retrograding. So Mercury hits 16 on the 12th, 2 days before the new moon. He's going to move all the way forward to 22 degrees. And then on June 29th, he will station retrograde. He will move backwards all the way back to 16. And then he's going to go direct near the end of July. So this retrograde journey is going to be impacting the area of your chart ruled by Cancer, specifically between 16 to 22 degrees. You want to be looking at what's happening between that part of your chart. Now, this is also interesting regarding this ongoing square between Jupiter and Chiron, because Jupiter is in Cancer. This Cancerian process is a reflection on our emotional safety. It's a reflection on our ancestry. It's a reflection on our mother lineage. This is deep healing work. When it comes to Cancer, we are working with the intuition. We are working with the emotions. We are working with sensitivity, our ability to feel the full spectrum of the human experience, and our ability to heal through that process of feeling. So this Mercury retrograde is going to bring some kind of initiation, a transformation around this area of our lives. And I do believe that there will be a connection between the ancestral work that we've been doing with the Jupiter Chiron square and this Mercury retrograde, right? Because the Jupiter Chiron square, it was happening in around like mid degrees of Cancer earlier last year when it was happening. So it's going to be impacting that same part of the chart, right? So your personal planets that you have there are going to be impacted by this upcoming Mercury retrograde. And I'm talking all about this retrograde right now because Mercury is the ruler of our new moon. And 2 days before the new moon, Mercury enters pre-shadow. So what is the pre-shadow? The pre-shadow is our moment to understand what Mercury is going to be teaching us about. The pre-shadow is like a foreshadowing period. It's a moment when you are being shown little clues and hints and insights into what this Mercury's going to pull you back like a slingshot. Mercury's going to pull back the veil. Mercury's going to like ask you to look back into the past, into past timelines, and understand something in a different way so that when Mercury moves forward, you are in alignment. During the pre-shadow, the insight and the information and the clues and the sparks of what that retrograde is going to be teaching you are already starting to arrive. So I'm actually going to be sending you out this report early. I'm going to be sending it out to you on the 12th so that you're going to get it on the day the pre-shadow starts. And I want you to start to notice, pay attention while Mercury's in pre-shadow. Have a section of your journal or your grimoire where you're writing down these important sort of messages that you're receiving from Mercury. Study Cancer, study the archetype of Cancer, the mother lineage, the ancestry, your relationship to safety, your relationship to emotional safety in your body, in your home. These are all Cancerian themes. So what is Mercury revealing to you around those themes? Pay attention, note them, because when Mercury goes into his retrograde process, those themes are going to bubble up and surface for you. And there's going to be an opportunity for you to realign yourself, to re-explore and investigate those themes and to come into deeper alignment with your truth, your highest path. Okay, so this new moon is an interesting one because it's kind of like we're at the threshold of just beginning this process with Mercury retrograde. We're at the threshold of like a moment where a lot is about to be reorganized. I'm really feeling that in myself, in the field. The other thing that's happening in this chart, which we've been talking about, is Uranus squaring the nodes. And Uranus is exactly squaring the nodes in this chart. So we know that we're in a big transformation. And this is significant because Mercury is also the ruler of the South Node right now, because Mercury is also the ruler of Virgo. And so the South Node, anytime we have a Mercury retrograde, this is our last Mercury retrograde with the South Node in Virgo. Virgo's about to move, like the South Node's about to move into Leo, right? That'll happen in July. So we're in the final moments of South Node Virgo, North Node Pisces. And these final moments, we're getting a lot of energy that's like pushing some deeper collective healing. The Mercury retrograde is going to reveal past life karmas that need to be cleared because Mercury is connected to the South Node. And so this healing, this ancestral healing, like all of this is going to be connected to past life stuff. It's deep karmic stuff that's coming up, right? And we know there's a possibility, there's a potential to have a complete perspective change and like an aha moment and a lightning bolt strike, a total reorientation, because the nodes are also being squared by Uranus. And Uranus brings sudden, shocking, abrupt insight and change and revelation. Uranus brings revelation. Uranus is like, his glyph is an antenna, right? He is an antenna to the cosmos. He is an antenna to higher dimensional perspective. So this is all connected, right? Through Mercury. And this new moon is bringing us into this journey. This new moon is kind of like, okay, we're starting this journey. It's not a new journey necessarily. It's not a totally new journey because it's actually, we're culminating this nodal journey, right? The nodes are in their final moment. And in that final moment, they have these two different things that are happening that are really going to be pushing us to clear that karma of the South Node in Virgo and step even more fully into the North Node in Pisces. One is the square from Uranus, and two is the Mercury retrograde, which is going to reveal South Node themes. So this is all super potent moment. I really actually love this setup because it's like, we're in this final push of this nodal journey. We're in this final moment of this nodal journey. And the nodes are our compass, right? They're the compass of the chart. And so I actually love the fact that our final moments with these nodes, we're getting so much opportunity within the chart to really cleanse, clear, reveal, transform whatever South Node karma in Virgo is being stirred up. I want to really invite you to be present with that process over the next like month or so as we have this Mercury retrograde and we move into like the final moments of this nodal axis, because there is something that your mind is still clinging to that is needing to be healed. It's connected to home, it's connected to family, it's connected to lineage, mother, emotions, right? That's all Cancer. There's something there for you to look at, and Uranus is here to support you to receive a transmission, to receive a higher dimensional perspective on what that is and how you can shift out of that pattern and move into trust, surrender, acceptance, and that divine current, which is the North Node in Pisces. Our nodal energy is going to change completely. And the North Node in Pisces is a very, very beautiful energy. This whole nodal journey has been inviting us to soften into the divine, the ordained path of your life. This is an invitation for you to receive and surrender to the divine path that your life is meant to take, that is beyond your mind's comprehension, which is the South Node in Virgo. And so this new moon, coming back to the new moon, this new moon is kind of like, it's a spark of energy. It's a spark of energy because it's a new moon. So it's a new cycle that we're beginning, but it's a spark of energy that's inviting us into this final sort of clearing process of the South Node in Virgo, because the new moon's connected to Mercury and Mercury is connected to the South Node. The new moon's connected to Mercury and Mercury is about to go retrograde. Mercury just entered pre-shadow. And so there's this weaving that's happening. There's this really beautiful weaving that's happening in the chart. Stay open. Stay open to a higher dimensional perspective. I know I've been saying this. It's even more like softening into that, softening into what would happen if you were to fully trust that there is a higher plan for your life, that there's a higher purpose that you are meant to rest into, not to cognitively control or figure out or even understand with the mind. But what if you were able to fully rest into the divine path of your life that is unfolding and allow that journey to hold you, right? Instead of trying to hold your purpose, instead of trying to hold your divine mission, what if you were allowing that to hold you? What if you were to rest into that? What if you were to recognize that you don't have to hold it all within the mind, and you were to allow the mind to become instead an instrument, a tool for you to be the conduit of that divine mission? And if that's not totally clear to you what that divine mission is, allow this process to reorient you, allow this process to widen your gaze, to widen your perspective, to help you see it in a broader way. Beautiful chart. I'm excited about what's about to unfold. We are entering into a time of big change. I really feel that in my being. And there is going to be many things realigning and reorienting over the coming weeks and months. Be open to the process, right? The grasping and the holding and the clinging and the wanting to know and the wanting to have it all figured out in the mind and that's the Virgo South Node. That is what we are purifying. And where there is a charge around this now is going to be a sense of emotional safety. So where are you getting a sense of emotional safety from these patterns of overthinking, overfunctioning, over processing with the mind? And where can you soften that into faith, Faith is trust without evidence. This is the North Node in Pisces. This is where there's like a vacuum right now that's pulling us all into the North Node in Pisces. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful moment. So very excited for this new moon, very excited to experience it with you. Stay open to the revelations, stay open to the shifts in perspective, the healing. This new moon is connected to Chiron, right? So there's a healing component here. Beautiful, beautiful chart. I'm excited to see where we all end up on the other side of this Mercury retrograde. It is going to reshape us in powerful ways. This is a little bit nostalgic. It's our final Mercury retrograde with the South Node in Virgo. So this is, we've talked about how Mercury retrogrades while the South Node is in Virgo are very karmic, are very deep initiatory processes that are taking us into past life karmas and allowing us to transform them in real time. This is really huge work. So if you're on that deep journey alongside with me, I'm celebrating you for having that courage to look within and examine and explore and be open to the North Node in Pisces, pulling you into this higher dimensional destiny. The last thing that I'll say before I close out here is that there can be so much fear around surrendering into the unknown. And what we need to remember when we are surrendering into the unknown of the North Node in Pisces is that Pisces has such a bigger vision than what our minds can hold. Pisces has this highest perspective vision, this bird's eye view, this like absolute faith in the unfoldment of the journey. Pisces understands the way in which our lives are ordained. And Pisces wants to invite us into, yes, surrender, trust, and flow, knowing that within that, it's like this playful energy of Pisces, right? Pisces is co-ruled by Jupiter, and Pisces has this ability to bring us into immense levels of joy, of expansion, of like beauty. Just the vision of Pisces, like when we surrender our ego's grip on where we think it's all supposed to be going, and we allow that North Node in Pisces to pull us into a destiny, it is going to be so much bigger than what you have in mind right now. And I want you to remember that and hold that perspective, because there's sure to be some bumps along the road. There's sure to be some bumps along the road with Mercury going retrograde, with a square from Uranus, bringing that friction, right? There's going to be growth. There's going to be challenge. Growth is created by friction. So remember that Pisces is pulling you into something that is so much more beautiful than what your mind can dream up. And this new moon is inviting us into this moment, this chapter of really embracing the unknown, stepping into that. We're stepping into a really interesting sort of liminal space moment with the Mercury retrograde. And this new moon is kind of like, it's the beginning of that process. And so I want to invite you to stay really, really, really open. This is also Gemini. Gemini is able to stay so open, to hold so much duality, to hold so many perspectives, and to understand that fundamental axiom of, all truths are but half truth. This is a very Gemini flavored axiom. If you can hold that, if you can really, surrender. The energy I'm feeling is like surrender, 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 and like let this process guide you. There's going to be a big process. We're going to be going through it together in this Mercury retrograde. So allow that Mercury retrograde to take you on a journey. Allow it to reorient you. Allow your perspective to change. When we don't resist the transits, when we allow the transits to shape us, when we allow ourselves to involve ourselves in the process, and we become engaged with the process, so much magic is available. So I hope this is a supportive reading for you. And I hope you have a beautiful new moon in Gemini coming in on June 14th. And if you're watching this video and it's helping you, it's supporting you, please feel free to give it a like or a share. Share it with someone you love. It always helps, just spread the message that I'm sharing these astrological updates. And if you want to stay more in touch, if you want to receive more insight as we go through the Mercury retrograde and you want to dive deeper into astrology, I have a free community called Coven. We gather every full moon. I read these reports live. I also give little mini readings for everyone who's there present on the calls. We are having a free immersion happening next week where I'm going to be guiding you into the process of understanding and learning how to work with and embody these 5 divine feminine archetypes that I teach in my Rose Temple School. It's totally free to join Coven, and we have a Telegram channel. I send, I drop voice notes there with astrological updates and how to work with the astrology in between these reports. So if that's something that you would like to be a part of, the link for that will be down below in the show notes. Thanks so much for being here, and I will see you next time.